All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our session this evening or this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. Our session is about ISO 27001, the Information Security Management System. It's going to be about 45 to 50 minutes session. Then we're going to leave at the end 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. But of course, if you have questions before the end of the session, you may please just ask it through the chat facility. So today's session is about, as I said, ISO 27001, which is the leading international standard for information security. And it has been adopted worldwide with more than 25,000 companies certified in this standard. So today, we're going to have Mr. Abdul Majid Haddad, who is an expert with more than 30 years of experience in cybersecurity and information security and auditing and in training, present to us this session. So hopefully you will benefit from it. Just one more thing before we turn it on to Mr. Haddad. You are all on mute to have a smooth session, but please feel free to use the chat facility if you have any questions. Mr. Haddad, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone is hearing me. If you have any issue, please raise your hand so the moderator, Qasim, will be managing any technical problem. This is one logistic important issue. Internet and electricity sometimes in some places are not stable. It may lead to cut or disconnect you from communication. The objective of this presentation is only 45 to 50 minutes. We will not come out as an expert in information security management system at the end of the presentation. The aim and the objective is to ensure that we have a general idea what is this standard talking about and how we can introduce it to our organization or to our profession in the business. You will be, some of you may be surprised that it would be to know that this is one of the largest implemented standard worldwide, and it is increasing very rapidly and quickly. And it is one of the most important standards you're going to face in the management system, as we're going to see shortly. So this presentation will be talking in general about information security, what is it, and ISO 27001, what is combined of, what are the important documents we need to know about, and the conclusion at the end. So this is the agenda of our discussion. So what is information security? Why we need it? Based on the present situation, the corona issue came and surprised almost everyone. We had to work from a different area, from remote area, from homes, from different locations. And yet we cannot work without information. However, defining information is very important, and that changed from one organization to another. You have to identify what are the information related to your business have a value. Based on that, you can establish and design your information security management system. However, in general, as I said, this is just a general presentation. So as information, it could be image, it could be website, could be movies, could be pictures, could be recording an issue. So these are something you have to decide what are these information, how important is to my business, and what I would like to do with them. So that's why in this standard, the ISO 27001 name or given name, the definition of the information called assets. So asset is the information here, and this could be electronic, email, data stored, website, physical, paper files, CDs, photos, USB drives, as we said, conversation, or knowledge, like learning knowledge from experience or from laboratories or from formulas or any other source. So you have to identify, but it is not only electronic, it could be any type or any format. Based on that, you do your preparation and your identification, the value, how important it is to you.
Okay, Mr. Haddad, we're gonna have just a quick poll.
Yeah.
Get just everyone engaged. I'm gonna launch it right now. So please, everyone, just take a minute to answer this poll to give us a better idea what you want to know, and we will share the results. Okay, that's good. Let's give it 30 more seconds. Okay. It's 5 more. Okay, we're gonna end the poll right now.
Okay.
We'll share the results. Okay, that's good. So 38% to implement the standard and 63% to have more knowledge. Okay, thank you for sharing your answers.
Now, thank you, Qasim.
Sure.
Now, the information that represent organization or to represent identity of a person or a group or community. When you are exposed or vulnerable in a situation and you lose the information, you lose your personality and your image or your business. That's why it is very important to know what type of information you need to protect. Now, what's the information security and why we need to, and how we deal with it? If you see in the middle here, we have the information. The standard ISO 27001 based on 3 categories. And just to come out of this slide, I would like to say that most what I'm going to give you is practical examples and practical information. It will lead you to have very good practical examples on what to do with the standard. I'm not going to read the standard. I'm not going to read the elements. And the contrary, I will give you practical side of the implementation of the standard. Therefore, but there is some of theory must be laid down so we can have a common background or common ground to understand what we're talking about. So the information in ISO 27001 is based on 3 elements. Is the confidentiality of the information, the integrity of the information, and the availability of the information. So why we need this? If you have protected the information and nobody would be able to see it unless you authorize him, this is a confidentiality. Integrity, it means that the information is accurate. And availability, even in the worst case, I can have access and they are available to me at the time I need them so I can make a decision. That's all what ISO 27001 is providing or serving or leading to understand. So we need to make sure that the information are confidential, only allowed or authorized personnel are accessing this information. And the integrity, that means that if I need it and I would like to restore, for example, one of the information or email or a database, SQL, whatever, and put it back on the system, it would not be corrupted. If it is corrupted, it is confidential, I protected, it is available, but it's not integral. It's not valid the data. Then it means has no value and I failed to implement and protect my information. Now, to do that, I would need to make a communication and train my personnel what it means information, what are the importance, what are the value of this information, what categories of information I have, what it means confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and communicate that from top CEO up to the last person in the organization. Otherwise, you may, and most likely will be hit internally, not from outside. To implement that, I need a software. It could be antivirus, could be network monitoring, it could be CM for managing my network and observing unusual activities on the systems. Hardware, the servers, the virtual, the cloud system, the email system, the other Unix, Linux, Microsoft, whatever other equipments would be needed here as a software. Hardware, it be, as I said, could be firewall, could be routers, could be servers, PCs, laptop, and mostly what I see in the business of implementing this standard is mobile are not considered as part of the security system. No, it is. You have all your emails, many of confidential information on your telephone. You have public quotations, you have formulas, you have names, you have data, you have telephone numbers for clients and important deals. All these information are shared on the hardware, whatever is that type. Is it a notebook, laptop, mobile, anything possible. So every element must be considered. Now, to use this hardware, software, and do the proper communication, I need the procedures for the organization and to adopt and comply with the security requirements from the top outside. Then I need to train the personnel on these procedures and policies. Then internally, I would need a physical security. This is the access to the building, access to the data center, access to the development area, access to other important and critical area in the organization. If I have all these implemented, then I would say I start to move toward information security. Again, as I explained in confidentiality, integrity, and availability, I will not read it. However, the standard ISO 27000 version 2018, it is the overview and vocabulary for the ISO 27001. It says that preservation of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA, of information in any form. That's the definition of the standard. Now, information security management is a management process, not a technical process. It means that I have the best technology, the best arts of technology up to date, of firewall, of antivirus, CMs, monitoring systems, whatever. However, simple things. If I don't have a proper management system for loading and uploading patches coming from Cisco, from Microsoft, from any other supplier, international suppliers, I have seen frequently services are down. The DOS has been hit the organization because the patches being downloaded directly on a live system on the servers and overloaded the processors and memories. There was no more services done. However, if I have a proper policy and procedures how to manage and how to interact with my patches, then I would not face similar problems and I will not lose the service I'm providing. Other than that, like if you have a firewall and you keep changing policies and giving access right to X or Y or Z in the management based on a call coming from an IT department or X department, without keeping a proper record of the access right, then you are exposing your organization and becoming more vulnerable to outside. Why? Because you're giving too many access, no controls, no proper management and review and auditing access right, then also you're going to be at higher risk. So the management system of the information security is very important, and it is something we call it's a management, not a technical. Technical exists, it needs the management to protect. So it is all about people, training, processes, development, and assessing the risk. Of course, not everything is equal based on how important is the that server. Let's say it's a live delivering services, and I have other servers, and they are only for testing. So they are not the same value in risk.
Mr. Haddad, we have a question from Mr. Muhammad Khan.
Yes.
He's saying that if the management asks someone in the company, they tell them that, okay, we have firewalls and antivirus and other technical controls in place. So why do we need an ISMS, ISO 27001?
I just answered that.
Oh.
Firewall, it's a hardware. You need to manage it. Firewall exists with policies. Policies means that who have access outside or inside for the organization. Let me give you a simple example. Firewall, if you don't keep a record of all your policies on the firewall itself, and you update it and audit it, audited it means management, it's not the technical. Then you will end up that with hundreds of policies, you don't know what's open, what's closed, you don't do the audit, you don't do the random check, and this means that your organization are vulnerable. Simple as this. And as I gave other example of patches, I can give you example of backup. Everybody do backup. Most of companies, they do backup and they forget to do restore and testing data and taking samples and frequency of treating the data and the samples and managing the number of backup they have, where it exists, who's taking care of it, who's testing it, where they test it, on what machine, is it available in one location or more, do you have a DR or not? So all these are management. IT, they don't do this. It's not their job. They do the technical work of doing the backup and ensure that the routine is running. After that, if it's a medium or large organization, you have other people doing the job, of course, and they need a management system to implement so they can ensure that the data are accurate, integral, and available and confidential. Now, I'll put another information related to management. Now, if somebody have a very important information and left it on his laptop or a notebook or whatever equipment he have, and suddenly he have a breakdown and he ran to the IT department and asked them, well, I need the backup of my information. Well, we don't have it. Why you don't have it? Why you didn't do backup for me? Because you left it on your PC. So this is the management issue. It has nothing to do with the firewall. Firewall is just a tool. That's just the hardware. It doesn't do much if you don't manage it properly. So if you don't identify, if you have the best firewall and you left your information on your desktop and you lost your data on your desktop, you did not identify it as an important data, the IT did not know about it, they didn't do the backup, you lost the information. Even if you have the best technology in the organization, you already lost it. Another issue I can give you that if you have a breakdown of a hard disk and you left it out, and, or you sell it, or you give it away, or you left it on a desk and somebody took it, and they've been able to recover information on it. What the firewall can do for you? You already lost the data. Somebody else unauthorized has access to this data. Or you left your computer in your car. Thousands of hundreds of thousands of thefts happening every day. People leaving computers in their car, they leave it at the bench, they take it, somebody stole their bag. These are management issues, has nothing to do with the firewall. This firewall cannot protect you, okay? Now, so that will answer again. Practicing information security, it is something very organized and very prepared. If you are unorganized related to information security, then you have reactive, means that you respond to incidents after it happened. Practicing information security, it is reactive in the case of if you are not organized. It means that no management commitment, no information assets inventory. I don't know what's my assets and how important are. No risk assessment, no way to evaluate or prioritize risk, no way to evaluate controls if they are adequate, what I'm doing or not. I have a firewall, I have a backup, I have antivirus. Is it the proper control I need? Nobody knows. No metric, it means no measurement, therefore there is no improvement. And I don't know if I'm complying by law to the existing local laws or not. These called unorganized. The bottom of this presentation here, it says that the organization are unorganized. It means they fail in security. If they're not being hit now, they will be hit shortly. If you are organized, it means that your management are committed. They lead the information security. They don't leave it to the IT. Nothing wrong with the IT, but this is not their job. Their job to improve, to provide the infrastructure. Their job is to ensure that the equipment are working. But when it comes to manage the information security, it's a top management responsibility. So they are proactive, avoiding or reducing or minimizing the risk. So they are committed. They know where the scope and boundary of the ISMS are implemented. Is it for the data center? Is it for the, sorry. Is it for the data center? Is it for the research center? Is it for the whole organization? Is it for the sales? Just because I'm saying here, I have a very important client worldwide, actually, about 60, 70 companies worldwide they have. And they have a huge stores all over the world. And I was saying, you need to identify your assets as information. If anything happened anywhere in your stores, because they have very important data somewhere in the stores and the warehouses, you will have a serious damage. And they didn't take it serious. Last year, one of their major warehouses caught fire, and they had to stop working for more than 40 days until they collected data from all over the world. And then they start to identify their data and assets, and they start to do the proper management of the information. You see, this has nothing to do with your cloud or your servers or virtual servers or firewall or antivirus. It has nothing to do. It has to do with how I manage my information. It cost them millions of dollars, but it was too late. Information security is not all about IT. All companies should be involved. Information security implementation needs time. Don't rush. Don't say I need certificate in 4 months and 6 months. Take your time and ensure you are implementing your information security management system within the scope identified by the management until it is implemented properly. Now, I have a slide here. It says that IT department can't play the role of information security because it's two different jobs. Security is not the IT, it's something else. However, small organization, they cannot afford to hire people and pay salaries for two different jobs. So in this case, IT, they have to, take the responsibility and do it. However, it is not the best practice. It is not the worldwide practice, but I have seen it in many small organizations where they cannot afford to pay extra salaries. How to avoid all these mess? By implementing the ISO 27001. Now, to implement ISO 27001, and it is, as the standard says, if you look to this word here, it says it is a strategic decision for an organization. That's based on ISO 27001 2013. So adoption of information security management system, it is a strategic decision. IT department could not come by themselves and say, we're going to implement today 27001. It has to be coming from the top management, and they have to be convinced. Standard cover all type of organization, industry, and segments. ISMS preserve confidentiality, integrity, availability of information by applying a risk management process. Now, the standard itself, it has became like any other new standard now in ISO. They have from 4 to 10. Every standard now, they have the same numbers, the same flow as it goes, except ISMS have an annex. This annex called controls, where when you implement ISO 27001, on top of the other section of the standard, you have to apply a control wherever it applies. Now, you have organizational context, leadership, planning, support, operation. This is where you do your job, like software development, hardware delivery and repair, installation, cloud servers, whatever you have, network installation. And then the evaluation, and at the end is the improvement. So the requirement is to apply from 4 to 10, like any other standard. However, as I said, I will not read them. These are the standards. I would rather give you more practical example coming later on in different slides. These are so clause 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then you have 114 controls as an annex. As you see here, we have 14 different types. Under these 14 types, you have 35 main categories, and under the 35, you have 114 controls. These are the controls, as you see, A5, A6, 7, 8, up to 18. Each one, you have in front of it how many controls within each one of these. Like A5, you have 2 controls. A11, you have 15 controls. A12, you have 14 controls, etc. So that would summarize to you what it means if you apply 27001. Is these all controls are mandatory? No, it's based on your system. For example, if you do deliver only hardware services and you don't develop software, then A14 is not implemented, because this is related to software development. So it's based on your business. Defining the scope is very important, so you know what you have to do. Otherwise, you will be facing an issue with the certification at later stage. So you have to know exactly what you do, like software development, installation, maintenance, and follow-up, for example. This is clear. You cannot say all type of information services, what type of information, what you do, or maintaining all type of hardware, what type of hardware you're doing. Is it cloud service? Is it DR center? what you do. So you have to identify specifically your scope. Now, the standard, as we see here, ISMS, it have a plan, do, check, act, where every management system have that. So this will be related to organization, policies, risk management, compliance, assets management, incident management, information security, access control, communication, operation and management, physical environment, human resource, and business continuity. These are the cycle where you need to take care when you implement your ISO 27001. I'm going a little faster because I want to give you more practical examples coming soon here. Now, the information security management system, you can apply it at service, specific sectors like communication, GSM communication, it could be medical centers, hospitals, schools. So every sector have its own standard. You'll be surprised that ISO 27001 have a sector-specific guidelines for almost 80 different type of businesses. So ISO 27001 can serve almost every sector, and this is integrated management system where you can integrate it with 9001, with 14,000 environment, with the cybersecurity, with the cloud service, or the personal identifiable information in GDPR now in Europe, or 27701 ISO standards, small, medium organization, etc. Now, I'll give you a practical example here. If you have a 27001 sector plus sector specific, down here you have a telecom, so it comes here. Healthcare, it may come here. Cybersecurity, it may come here. Any of these business may come here, plus sector control standards based on the annex we have. It will give you a full and proper implementation for your organization. If, let's say, you are a hospital, you are a school, you are hardware sales retailer or designer, you have whatever organization service you do, your business have a specific requirements and legal requirement, then you pick up the sector control standard, which are defined here, and you add them all together, and you can serve your organization in best practice. To help you get more information, I left here on the top this link. It's take you to ISO site, the international ISO site, where if you just push on this link, it will show you the total of all subcategories related to 27001. Okay. Now, this is another example. This is the ISO 27001. So if you have network security service, you apply 27033. If you have telecom, you apply 27011 on top of the 27001, etc. And here, ISO 27009, this is our use with the 27001, for example, for a specific application. These are the documents required by the standard. These are the mandatory, and I put the name of the document and in which clause you need to refer to. So this way you can have a clear idea. If you are developing or writing the standard, you can go back to this slide and check. For example, risk assessment, you go to 612, statement of applicability in 613. Definition of security, you go to clause, practically the control 712 and A1324. So every document I refer to as mandatory, I give in front of it where is the details and how you should use it within the standard. So that's the continuity of that. Now, these are non-mandatory document, but it is good to use it as best practice. Again, I continue what type of policies you need to develop. They are not mandatory, but they are very good to have it as an organization. Just imagine yourself that you don't have password policy. So the standard specify the mandatory, but they add one line within the standard that documents and records must be developed within the organization based on the complexity of the organization and the need to deliver the service you are implementing. So if you don't manage your password and everyone have his own password and there's no control of the password, then you will be at high risk. Or if you don't apply the BYOD is bring your own device. So everybody brings his own device. There's no system, no policy, and everybody hook it in the network. God knows where he used it, in which coffee shop or a public airport, and who sneaked in and left a virus in it, and he comes and hook it in your organization. And here you go, you have a mess and you have a problem, you infected the whole network. So these are a very good practice to use, and I recommend it strongly for you. Now, to implement the standard, you need to identify, like any management system, the context of the organization. It means that you have to identify the interested parties, internal and external. And this is an example, like internal and external. You have here the customers are external. Legal entities are external. You do your own SWOT analysis, and based on that, you identify your risk assessment. This is the strengths, weaknesses, threat, and opportunity. Of course, weaknesses, threat, and opportunity, it must be evaluated at risk. And here an example on how you do a risk assessment and what are the type of risk and link to which annex or the standard and the control, what are the assets related to this risk, and what are the vulnerability, who's the owner of the risk, what is the impact of this risk, what are the likelihood, how you mitigate your risk, what you're going to develop to improve and have a control over this risk, or you can live with that risk. It's up to you and what's your appetite in the organization. This is the standard role of a risk category, high, medium, and low, and what's the impact and what it means. Like high, it happened frequently, medium happened at least one time, and if it is low, this never happened before. So based on that, you give a value and rate to each risk, and you implement it for your assets. One of the backbone of the ISO 27001 is something called Statement of Applicability, SOA. SOA, it means that this is the mirror of your organization based on the standard requirement. SOA, it covers all the 114 controls, and in front of every control, you have to identify what type of existing control, what is the impact of this control on your organization. Is there any best practice? Is there legal requirement? Is it business requirement? Is it internal requirement? Is it applicable or not? If not, then I have to apply it. Then I have to justify what type of controls I have to add to ensure it is implemented. This is one of the most important documents for you after context, risk, and comes the SOA. They are all merged together, and based on that, I'm going to generate my security objectives. You see, most of companies I audit, they are confused. They always present to me management or business objective. Nothing wrong with that. It's good to have it. But we're talking here about information security management system. You need to identify information security objectives. based on the risk, based on the context, based on the SWOT analysis, and based on all that, after you identify your assets and the risk of these assets, you come with security KPIs or objective. Example, IT internal vulnerability assessment. Again, I will come back to the gentleman who asked about the firewall. If I have firewall and my top manager say why we need it, because internal IT internal vulnerability assessment firewall doesn't do it. The CM you have, they collect data, CM whatever brand you have, it collects data, but it cannot tell you how you do the IT internal vulnerability assessment. Internal IT internal penetration test, external test, network internal vulnerability assessment, network penetration test, network external penetration test, and the frequency of that. Cybersecurity policy review, how frequently you do that. Mobile application penetration test, wireless LAN security. See, all these are objectives and KPIs must be introduced to your organization, so you ensure that you are on top of all vulnerability within the organization. So like CDD scan, wireless test, firewall rule set review. You see, I have a firewall, but I have to do a rule set review every 6 months or every 1 year based on my business. Incident response training and test. All these are the management of the information security system.
Mr. Haddad, we have two questions, if possible.
Yes, please.
There's a question: is justification required even if control is applicable in SOA?
Sorry?
Is justification required even if control is applicable in SOA?
See, controls need justification if you are not applying it. If you're applying it, you add it to the SOA, and for sure you're going to say what type of control or policies or procedure or hardware or software or human interactions within the SOA. You have to state it, yes.
Oh, okay. The other one is how management will decide what information security policy to be defined.
You see, based on the business and first of all, based on the business and the scope.
Okay.
If you are in let's say in software development, so this is the scope of your work. That means that the source code and the security of developing of the software is something at high risk. The way I transfer this information to my client and install it at their site, or they use the cloud and they access this information, this is a high risk. But if you tell me I have a desktop in my system and it's only for purchasing some accessories, it is not the same. So, you know, the business and the scope identify and help you and guide you to say, what are the value of this information? How far it is important to me? If I lose it, how it will hurt this organization or expose this organization? If it leaked out, what will happen? Or if somebody have penetrated my system and stole this information, what would be my image? What will be affecting my business? What would be the reflect on my clients? So it is changing from one organization to another. As again, I would say based on the business and based on the scope.
Okay, so based on what you said, there's a follow-up question. If top management is not so much aware of cybersecurity, what happens then?
They need to be educated and introduced to what it means, information security management system and cybersecurity.
Okay.
If they insist, I would say one time they will be regretting it. And this is what's happening frequently now. As per statistics, more than 65% of funds paid for cybersecurity and the information security management system after the event happened and after that ransom have hit the organization and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then they wake up, but it was too late. Instead of paying 25 or 50,000, they pay 500,000, they pay 1 million, 2 million, depend on the size of the organization. 65% of organizations, they pay money and they feel it is a very important now to implement it, but after, unfortunately, the event hit them. Is that clear, or you want?
No, they're saying it's very clear.
Yeah, this is I'm collecting data. This is from the market. Last client I had, I don't want to mention the name, neither the country. I've been following with them for the past 2 years that you have a serious issue at the IT department. Has to have a clear audit and clear assessment and vulnerability assessment and penetration test. They didn't believe it. They ended up paid $500,000 ransom. Somebody who hit them and put the virus inside, he stayed inside their organization for 6 months after he studied all the structure of the organization, all the communication emails from top management to finance to clients to orders to contracts. And he hit them badly and they transferred $500,000. Just imagine that. God. Anyway, the last very important issue I face in auditing ISO 27001 is the element A17. A17 is the control, A17, not the element, I'm sorry, is planning information security continuity. Planning information security continuity, it is when I audit these organizations, normally they present to me the business continuity plan they have. And this is not what I want. The organization must have something called information security. Please follow me clearly. Information security aspects of business continuity management. I'm not asking if you have a business continuity management. Of course you have, but this is not what I want to see. I want to see the information security aspect of the business continuity management system. It means that in a regular case, this is the business continuity, this is the DR we have, this is the business impact assessment we have in place. There's no problem, we are implementing it, okay? And we have a rehearsal, we have a trying, we have this and that. I have seen very frequently at the time of unusual situation, like we have now the COVID-19, people working from home, somebody got called, please open to X or Y, the VPN, let them access the data center and let them access this database or this software or this accounting. Okay, fine. Do we have that in our system clearly identified who have the authority to give or to monitor? Is it being monitored properly? Is it being recorded properly? Most of the time, we fail to continue to have a proper follow-up on the security issue at the time of vulnerability or at the time of the incident. So the standard have very clear statements that implementing information security continuity, organizations shall establish, document, implement, and maintain process, procedure, and controls to ensure the required level continuity of information security, not business continuity, information security during an adverse situation. So you have a DR center, you are testing it, and suddenly you have an emergency case. You went there to the DR and you start to work from there, yet nobody knows what to do. Where is my, who have access, where's the matrix of authority, who have the right to make a decision. We have to wait for the CEO. CEO is not available. We cannot communicate with him. Oh, we have mobile today. Yes, of course, today mobile is not working. What you do, how you communicate. So if you have it in your business continuity, you have to always ensure that the business, the security side of it is alert and available.
We have a good question, Mr. Haddad.
Yes.
Saying what do we tell management if they ask us that if we implement ISMS, will our organization be safe from ransomwares? Are we protected from threats and attacks?
No, see, no standard in the world will protect you from anything. What it does is based on, okay, this is a good question. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
It depends how much you pay at the end. Banks, which I audit frequently, They spend millions of dollars on information security by purchasing and having resources, personnel, and computers and software to ensure that zero downtime and all accurate and critical information are identified and protected. Now, you tell me sometimes banks are hit. Yes, they are. But most of the time, they are well protected. They are learning very fast after they paid a huge amount of fines and penalties from the governments. You would say that we are 100% protected? No, because at the end, human beings are managing the system, and they must be fully alert. And let me tell you something. Most of the people or organization are hit not because they have been penetrated from outside. Believe me, 80% are from inside. Like one employee are not well trained. We have not spent, why we need to train them on information security? Just the IT department, they have to be aware of that. Wrong, my friend. Every single one in the organization, especially today when you have, as I said earlier, mobiles and you have emails, account, etc. Well, they have to be trained what type of emails they have to open or not. I know now many organizations, they do internal tests for their employees. They send phishing emails and they see who's opening it and who's not. Even they use sometimes the logo of the organization to become so authentic. So be careful. Most 80% of damage comes from inside because of the lack of training. And this is, again, I want to come back to answer the gentleman, which is very valid, and I support you 100%. Most struggle with us, I say, with the top management, not with the IT department, not with the employees. They are not convinced that we need that. We bought the best technology. Why we need it? Sorry, my friend. Your employees, if you don't train them and spend money on them, they will be the source of risk and vulnerability within your organization. So I hope that answered your question. Now, I asked during the audit, what type of audit you do to ensure that you are safe, based on the question I got now from the gentleman or the person who asked the question, he or she. I put here a practical example, what type of audit you need to do to ensure the security. Normally, these type of audit, the IT department don't do because it's not their job. However, let's take the worst example, that it is a small organization and IT has to do it. These are kind of examples you have to do on a regular basis, not as detailed as I mentioned here. However, it is minimum possible. Like IDS, firewall, VPN, badging system, security cameras, physical controls, logs, anti-malware, system email, security. So these are daily. Now, if it's a small organization, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it's up to you. But something has to be done. What I should check, I put in front of it like the capacity check, system, security system for the IDS or firewall or VPN, etc. What's the capacity check? The threat fetch check system log review. I check the log, see is anything unusual. Log management for the CM. Traffic patterns. Is the patterns are normal or abnormal? If it's abnormal, it means there is something wrong going on my network or my firewall or from outside world or inside. Port scan, foreign country activities on my door. So these things has to be done to ensure, to minimize, to answer your question, Qasim, and the person who asked it. Yes. These are things can minimize the risk on the organization when I do this job. But when I ignore all these tests or audit or check, then I'm not applying the 27001, and I'm at a huge risk today, as I said, based on, of course, the organization and the scope, what they do. Web security. three systems are very harmonized together, and they can provide you with a strong infrastructure and strong body to protect your organization. And if you apply 27001, basically I would say you already applied 50% from each one of these 20001 and 22301. Of course, you have the 22032 and 27031. You have the cybersecurity, you have the cloud security, you have other standards. You can see them, and you can all plug them with the 27001 based on your scope and your business you are delivering. So why we need to apply and implement ISO 27001? Because that will help protect all forms of information. It increases resilience to cyber attack. So I can minimize the attack. Why? Because I'm monitoring all activities outside on my network, or foreign activities, or any unusual suspicious emails or activities on the systems. And I'm managing properly my users, my access code, my access assets, level of values. Provide a centrally managed framework, offer organization-wide protection that help respond on security threats, reduce costs associated with information security, protect confidentiality, availability of the data and the integrity, and improve company culture by awareness on the information security. Benefits, as I said, these are the most important. At the top of that, again, I would say top management leadership commitment is a must. I made a presentation lately on something we call it in the IT, the C-suite. C-suite is the people who sit in the board of the organization, who make a decision for organization. What's their role in implementing ISO 27001 and cybersecurity? We call them C-suite. Just imagine, they are the source of the vulnerability if they are not convinced, if they are not aware that the information security, it's a big hit and it is a big loss for them. They will lose the organization, they will lose their data, they will lose their entity, and they will be exposed. The last organization I have been involved with them, again, I don't want to mention the country, either the name of the company. It's one of the worldwide company. They received the report on a many vulnerability on their data center and their network. They have not responded, and unfortunately they've been hit badly by leaking information over than 3 million records for 3 million different people. Their fine was $500 million as a penalty by the court, and almost they went bankrupt. Gentlemen, ladies, thank you very much. I wish I served the purpose of touching in a general idea what it means, ISO 27001, how important, how wide is being implemented, and how many subcategories they have, what is the structure, what is the controls, and what are the weaknesses I see in the audit. And if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haddad. Actually, we have a couple of questions already. So there's a question that since ISMS is a management process and not a technical process, are auditors still required to have good skills in IT, for example, to understand controls? So this is the competency of auditors.
Yes, yes. Still, I say, as I said in the beginning, the information in the ISO 27001 called assets. And I said it could be image, could be papers, could be CD, could be whatever. But to be honest and to be practical, most of this information today either scanned or stored in cloud or local servers or virtual servers. So yes, you need to have a technical background to conduct a proper audit and to add value to the client. Otherwise, you will not be granted the status as an ISMS auditor.
Okay, another question is information identification and asset classification, along with data classification, mandatory prerequisite for ISO 27001.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Otherwise, what are you going to protect? You have to identify the value. Not only that, companies, they put the level of security on the document itself. Is it highly confidential, only top management will have access to it? Is it confidential so managers can see it? Is it public so marketing materials can be left anywhere on the website or distributed? So yes, you have to identify the level of security, and based on that, IT department and security department, they have to ensure that it is protected, backed up, restored, tested, and available to make the proper decision at the right time, anytime.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any more questions? If you have any questions, now is the time. Okay, if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for attending this session. I left you the email where you can send us any questions you have regarding this standard or any other standard or any of the services you are interested in or projects. So please feel free to contact us on this email, and we will answer you and support you as much as we can and to the best of our knowledge. Okay, I will also share with you the recording of this session and the presentation of this session and our upcoming trainings, which are online and in class with discounts as well due to this situation. So thank you all very much, and I'll leave it for one more minute in case anyone has any question before we end the session. Yeah, we can do a session about ISO 20000-1. They are asking about ISO 20000-1. Maybe we will arrange for a session soon, which is the Information Technology Service Management System. That's a
yeah, sure, we can do that. We can do that. It's a sister standard to 27001. Sure.
Sure. Yes, we will do this.
Good suggestion. I think this is a good suggestion. We have to do this.
Yes, it's in demand. We need to also make the people aware of it. All right. Thank you all very much again. And I guess we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.